Today is Saturday, March 2nd, 2019. Welcome to the Survivor Fans Podcast. I'm Joanne.
And I'm Stacy.
And this is the listener feedback show for episode 2 of Edge of Extinction.
That's right. Now it's time to check in with the super fans, see what they thought about this episode. Joanne and I took care of our recap and some of our predictions on Wednesday night, right after the episode aired. Now it's your turn. So we've got how many folks?
29.
29. Yeah.
They
wanted to talk about the second episode, talk about the season as a whole, and make some predictions. We have got a loaded show, so if you love Survivor, you're in the right place. Anything we need to say before we get going?
Let's just do it.
All right, first up, we got a call from Pete.
Ann and Stacy, this is Pete from Boston calling here, and I gotta let out a great big whoa! Even though I'm sad for Keith, say it with me, guys. Na 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 na. Hey, goodbye. Oh, poor Keith. You should have known how to swim. That really is a shame. Keith, see, to me, if you don't know how to swim, it's like, why are you even out there? But then again, I am sad for Keith because I know how much he loved the game and all that, and he tried. He did try. He just wasn't good at any of the challenges. And this was an old school vote to me. Get rid of the weak to keep the strong to win challenges, and that's what happened with Keith. But I gotta say, guys, I don't know if you agree, Stacy, you probably do, is that edit completely fooled me. Here I am thinking like Devins and Chris and David Wright had pulled in War Dog and Wendy, and they were going to get rid of Wentworth, but that did not happen at all. It was almost a unanimous vote, and I don't know who had that. There was one mystery vote. Well, I think I know who Keith voted for, but yeah, it was almost a unanimous vote. Wow, and we don't even know now if Keith went to Extinction Island with Reem or not. What a misdirect that was. So we'll have to see, or did he quit or not? We'll see what happened with that. But what clever editing there, because I thought it was going to be a big blind side. Some was said, so maybe War Dog is running the show there. I'm not a big fan of War Dog, guys. Somehow he's running the table there. He clearly changed the minds of Devins and David Wright and Chris there, because Chris wanted Keith to stay out of loyalty, but that didn't pan out. And then the other team, guys, is just a fun-loving tribe, much to Aubry's dismay. But Aubry better watch out. Looks like she's on the fence there. I love that little dance with Ron Clark. I thought that was hysterical, and nothing was mentioned about his advantage. And did Joe get a confessional? I didn't see any confessional for Joe. I know he did his thing in the challenge, and we saw a little more of a Julie and Julia and Victoria. And yeah, those girls, Julie or whoever that was, said, why aren't they looking for idols there? That's why better players find idols all the time. Kudos for Lauren finding the idol. That was awesome, and she beat Wentworth to it. But I'm curious, guys, I bet you she tells someone, and she probably will end up telling Wentworth down the road, and it'll haunt her. I like her, though, as a player so far, and I'm starting to like Devins more, too. Sad for Keith, but not being able to swim is going to be a demise early in the game no matter what. So we'll see if he ends up going to Extinction Island. Great episode, guys. Take care. Woo!
Woo. Thanks, Pete. I think you can see it turn. You can see the change that had happened in the extra videos. Because as they go one by one through the Manu tribe, in the extra videos, you can hear how determined they are not to lose again. That just became an overriding concern for them,
We have to stay strong. We can't lose again.
not to be so far down in numbers that they could never come back. That just became an overwhelming concern, it seemed like, for each of those players in the majority.
It's like they're almost really embarrassed at this point, especially Chris and War Dog, and they're just like, oh, this cannot happen again.
Right. We don't want to be in such a hole as the premise that they were talking about going into a swap, going into the merge. Yeah, I think Rick was talking about it. That he just didn't want to be in this unrecoverable position. As much as they wanted to blindside Wentworth, they were way more afraid of not being able to have a shot once the game moved to the next phase, assuming they were still there.
I kind of think Chris and Dan and Lauren and Wentworth all kind of made a deal. Mm-hmm. They're the top 4 strongest.
Right.
And I think they might have made a deal. And, I mean, they'll turn on Kelly eventually. Mm-hmm. But I think they're thinking they use her right now because they need the strength. And she's strong.
Sure, yeah. It depends. Definitely she struggles in the swimming. Not as bad as Keith.
Well, that's true.
And she absolutely was able to contribute in other parts of the challenge. I think she was pointing out how disappointed she was in Keith, that he was basically just rolling around when they were trying to drag the snake under the obstacle, and how frustrating
he was doing
that
nothing
was.
in every leg of the challenge.
Yeah.
Nothing. He didn't help lift it. Remember, I was like, Keith is just standing back there. He didn't help him put the snake up on there. He didn't help him untie the ropes or look for any of the discs. Nothing. He's just like, but I'm tired.
Yeah, I want to go back to what Pete was saying, too, about really what you got in that episode when you're able to take a step back like we do in the listener feedback show here and look at it, is the contrast. The editors are saying, look at Lauren and what she represents as a player versus Julie, Victoria. They're saying Lauren is on a different level. Julie talks about it, right? And same with Julia and Victoria. No action was shown. Of course, we don't get to see everything. But then they emphasize Lauren's ability to find it. We'll talk. Some other folks have some opinions about Lauren's ability to find it as we go through the listener feedback show. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
it was a little sketchy, but
another thing, if those 4 did make a tight alliance on Manu, then
back to Chris, Dan, Lauren, and Wentworth.
Yeah, that means that David, Rick, and Wendy
on the outs.
Yeah, kind of need each other at this point if they think those people are solid enough.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. My thought was I'm going to get in line with the majority if I'm David or Rick, or
I don't know especially if Rick.
Don't know if Wendy can. Rick's probably the most fluid.
Yes, I would agree.
Yeah, and he's got the best position to move between the majority and the minority alliance there. And the next time on Survivor, you could clearly see Chris, Dan, Lauren, and Kelly talking. So that's all you need now for the majority in that tribe.
True.
To make the decisions.
They can decide who to vote on. But my thought is they could still turn right around and decide to vote Kelly out next.
After hearing their determination in the extra clips.
But if they win, that's going to go away. They're going to be high and think, oh, we got it now. That was just a fluke, those first. We got it.
No,
we can get rid of her.
No, I would disagree and say they need another win to even it up. So they're going to at least go to that point.
Okay, but what if they win reward and immunity? Does that change?
Yeah, I could see what you're saying in terms of their perspective on the momentum, even though the reward isn't as significant.
Now they're equal with the other tribe. They've won 2, and we won 2.
It's not the same, though, right? It's got to be, you got to not lose a castaway. You got to not lose a tribe mate. You got to even the numbers back up. They really need Kama to lose 2 people because they want to go in with even or better odds to whatever happens on the swap merge.
They need them to lose 2 people for what?
For things to even up.
So you're saying they wouldn't vote Kelly out?
No, I think
until after the other tribe lost 2 people.
Yeah.
But they think there's a swap coming, whether there is or not.
Earliest they would consider it.
They're all talking about, well, there's going to be a
like
mix-up.
Dan said in the episode, Dan Wardog. This is why people are confused, because there are multiple names in play. I guess we're contributing to some of that. But he wants her around in case he ends up swapped with her, because she's the shield. Mm-hmm. There's a bigger target on her because she's the known entity, the returnee. All right. Thanks, Pete. Good stuff. Next up, we got a call from Shea.
Hi, Joanne. Hi, Stacy. It's Shea. I'm really sorry I missed the first week of call-in. Got caught up with my grandson and just missed it. But the only thing I want to say about last week really quickly is that I thought the group who started talking crap against the 3 in the water, he's learning how to swim, was such a mean girls move. They just seem like a bunch of teenage junior high girls. I mean, they're helping someone learn how to swim to help the team, to prevent a potential drowning. I just don't understand what it was they got mad about. I don't get it. Last night's episode, again, was really good. I was afraid I'd be disappointed in this season after last season. I didn't know if it could hold a candle to it, but so far so good. The challenges are really interesting, and there are a lot of amazing characters. I'm really interested to know more about the little redhead Victoria. She seems to have figured Aubry out for sure. And didn't they say that when she was 7, she asked for a Survivor buff for Christmas? I thought that was kind of cool. Yep. Really enjoyed the episode. The only thing that could have made it better is if Kama actually broke out and danced when they won the challenge. That would have been awesome to see the look on Jeff's face and the other team's face if they had actually done the cheer they practiced. But anyway, can't wait to hear what everybody else has to say. Speaking of everybody else, great to hear all of your voices. I missed each and every one of you. Okay, well, have a good day. Can't wait to hear it.
All right, thanks, Shea. Great to have you back.
My thought was they might not want the other tribe to see how bonded they are in case they get swapped over there soon.
Yeah, you have to balance that with what we heard from Manu in the extra clips, and that they weren't so keen on the cheering. So there's definite cheering that's being done. I don't think we're seeing all of it. And we got a little taste of it in the second episode, but that didn't seem like that was the only thing, because it was bugging some of the Manu people they mentioned in their feedback, in their extra confessionals this week. So I think that kind of stuff can really backfire on you. It's good in the moment, can help morale, but when you publicly overdo it, it can cause resentment.
Yeah. Well, I would say it's better to do back at camp before you go to the jail.
There you go. Good deal. A lot of people had that reaction, Shea, going back to that first episode when I believe it was Rick highlighted him down there helping Keith with the swimming. And I didn't see it as mean. They were joking and laughing about it like it was funny. I didn't take it as a mean moment. And that's part of the early game Survivor, is you're always looking for someone that makes themselves a target, and that evidently
that isolates.
That wasn't the only isolation that they had done together. The 3 of them, Reem, Keith, and Wendy. So I just thought they were goofing and having a moment on that. Didn't see it as mean, but a lot of people did. I guess Wentworth got a lot of feedback to that regard about how evil she was because of that.
Well, and people are scrambling for some alliances and anybody to plant a target on that's not me.
Yep. I absolutely would have said something like what Rick said. That was nice and convenient of them to make themselves a target for us.
Yeah, and I thought he did it in kind of a lighthearted...
Same with Wentworth. She was laughing when she said it, too.
Well, hey, there's our alliance.
Yeah. There we go. All right, good to have you back, Shea. Next up, we got an email from Justin in Michigan. Hi, Joanne and Stacy. I'm a longtime listener, first-time contributor. Welcome, Justin. A few thoughts from this second episode. First, I found it interesting how Aubry already got caught trying to pull people in. I think she may be trying too hard not to lose, rather than thinking long-term and playing to win. Second, I think we saw that if Wendy plays her cards right the rest of the game, she actually has a legit chance to go far. It was interesting that I didn't notice a single tick at all this episode after they put so much emphasis on it in the last. Yeah, it is.
That's true.
Yeah, and you don't see anything in the extra clips either, so maybe she's managing things pretty well. That leads me to my final point. I had mixed feelings on Keith for all of last episode and the first half of this episode. I found myself cheering for them to blindside Kelly, but at the same time I'm confused why he was cast in the first place. He can't swim, doesn't appear to be athletic at all, and doesn't give off the impression of being very smart or strategic either. His reaction when he was voted off, and then his dramatic performance when presented with the decision to continue in the game, made me officially resent him. I can relate to that. I had a similar reaction. Thousands or millions of people would love a shot to be on this show, and he is debating whether he should take a second chance or just go home. Anyway, that leads me to the subject title of this email, as I will be cheering for Reem if Keith does decide to take a shot on Exile Island. Thanks for all you do, and hopefully I'll get a chance to weigh in for future episodes. You are most welcome to join us. Thanks for being here.
How quickly we change when...
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's true too.
Good deal. Thanks, Justin. I was going to mention with Aubry, there's an extra clip of Aubry. If you want to see how turned around she is, she's in a bad space.
Yeah.
Because she's fixated on how she played her first time and how she played her second time, and she thinks somehow that's the key to unlocking the third time, and that's part of why she's so lost
but
and disoriented.
But it sounds like how she was in the beginning, the very beginning.
Yeah, the first time.
Yeah, and how confused, and I mean, she worked through it and came out of it, but
eventually,
that's what it's feeling more like.
It absolutely does. I think she's in a deeper hole than, after watching that extra clip of her, than I originally realized. And she needs to play the people. You need to adapt your game. That's why when they ask you what you're going to do in the pregame interviews, the only real answer for me is I got to wait and see what it is, what the cards are. What are the elements that I'm playing against with these different people, and then the circumstance and the tribe, and how do things pan out? I want to adapt my game to that. I don't want to be like a certain player or be like a previous version of myself. I may have to be someone completely different to
I
succeed.
felt like she was going more, almost too much internally instead of
she's deep in her head. Yeah,
keeping self-aware, but also, really filling out the players. And I think what's really wrong is she is feeling out the players somewhat, and she's not liking what she sees.
She doesn't know what to do with the cards she's been dealt. Yeah. She really just seemed fixated on what combination of elements or which previous version of herself she needed to be instead of adapting.
I did like that she put out a tweet making fun of herself.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. It's a good sign too. Yep. Thanks again, Justin. Great to have you here. Next up, we got another call from Grace.
Hey, Joanne, Stacy, and Survivor fans. It's Grace from California. I really wanted to be calling consistently on this season, but have already missed the first episode, so I guess I'm 1 for 2. I wanted to touch for a moment on Reem and Keith. I feel like people have been kind of hating on them and saying that they shouldn't have come on the show in the first place, but I think it's really important to have people who aren't a Joe or a Kelly be on the show, because Survivor is a game that anyone can play, and I think it's important to have kind of unique characters on it, and Reem's attitude and Keith's inability to swim well, at least, kind of is what makes them endearing. I feel like when Keith left Tribal Council, they played the same track over and over again to make him sound more hesitant than he was. I think he'll definitely go to Extinction Island, and I'm probably just rooting for the underdog. I don't think either of them are going to stay for that long, but I still like them as castaways. Also, the dancing at the Kama tribe before the challenge, I find that so funny because people do that at my school, and teachers do that at my school, and that guy is a teacher, so I could imagine my teacher being there. I don't know, it was pretty funny just to watch and relate to. A surprise in the episode was Lauren. I'm so happy she found the idol, and she seems like she'll be an awesome castaway to watch because she's just like a super strong female, I feel like, and she won't be obnoxious like an Angelina or something. And I wouldn't mind seeing Aubry go next episode, but I don't think Kama will go to Tribal. I think the other team will, and if the other team does, It's probably going to be Wendy. And I can imagine Wendy, Keith, and Reem having swim lessons on Extinction Island. That would be pretty entertaining to watch. That's it for me. Hope everyone has a great week. Thank you. I'm excited to listen to everyone. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Grace. Good to hear your voice again. Yeah, there's definitely some interesting dynamics. They're going to switch to a reward and an immunity challenge with this next episode. So I'm already looking forward to seeing how that plays out, and I think it's already coloring my perception of how things may go from there.
Yeah, we were talking too much about it, I guess. You and I.
Yeah. Next up, we got a call from Slappy McGee.
Hello, Joanne and Stacey. This is Slappy McGee, calling you from the tour again. So touring through New Hampshire at this point. Soon headed out to New York, going out to Long Island. That'll be next week. Thanks for the podcast. You guys always offer great insight. A couple of things I thought about. First of all, I was thinking about the cheers. I think it was Ron that was leading, and I was just like, no, come on. And Aubry, I mean, she was so not into it. I mean, kudos for her for trying, but no. No. All right. And Keith, he was so self-deluded. When he walked out, he was like, how y'all going to win competitions now? I'm like, well, it just got easier. That's for sure. He's so self-deluded. Maybe immature as well. Maybe it's maturity. But maybe laugh kind of out loud. And I think some people rolled their eyes. And then, the question is, will he take the torch? Will he not? Will he give it to Jesus? We don't know. But Jesus lights the way. What is it? Take the wheel? Jesus, take the torch. I don't know. I think he'll take it. I think he will. I don't know. We'll see. I'm probably wrong. Who knows? And then Reem, she's not going to make it. I'm just saying right now, she's not going to make it. And especially if he doesn't come, if he comes, she might make it. And if someone comes, but she has to go another 3 days, whatever it is, she's not going to do it. All right, Stacey, I'm coming for you. Coming for you in this stupid fantasy league you got me involved in now. Mm-hmm. So I got all of them except for the wrong. I chose Wentworth. And I thought I was going to get it right. And I didn't. They're idiots. I mean, come on. She's played twice already. She almost won. She got really far. And they didn't vote her out. What? Why do these newbies always do that? They are idiots. The first people you should get out are the former players. Get them out. Don't be an idiot. And they are, it drives me crazy. Why wouldn't you? And they're talking about it, but they don't do it. That don't make any sense to me. Anyways, but I think you got all your points there, Stacey. You chose Keith. I almost chose Keith. I really did, and I was like, no, they're not going to do that. That's why I'm struggling in the preview. I was like, oh boy, he's going to hold them back, and Jeff is really riding them hard. But no, so they got rid of him. You were right, and I thought it was going to be Whitworth. Oh well. Anyway, thanks for the podcast. You guys did great as always. I look forward to everyone else's thoughts. I'm out of here. All right, love you.
Oh, I love it. The intensity level since he joined you in the side challenge has quadrupled.
Yeah, it's a whole.
I love it to watch that happen.
A whole nother gear he's in, and loving having you there in the side challenge. Thanks, Slappy. Great to hear all that. Next up, we got an email from Dan in San Antonio.
I love what you two do. Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to make a couple of points. There are some serious alpha males in this season, which has me thinking that some heads will be rolling sooner rather than later. The women on this season seem athletic, but they don't seem like survivor types. When you realize everyone is looking for an idol, you definitely go look for one. That seriously disappoints me. The fans deserve players that come to play every second of the game.
Amen, brother.
War Dog is a horrible nickname, and it bugs me for some reason. The island is boring.
Yes,
cheers.
I agree.
All right, thanks, Dan. So Dan would rather us use Dan's real name instead of War Dog.
Instead of War Dog. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I'm convinced at this point that all these alternate names, Dan and War Dog and Rick and Devins, is contributing to some of the confusion folks are having. Plus, we got gypped on the initial episode on the premiere. Just not enough time with the castaways.
Yeah, because I guess he must have asked to be called Devins.
Obviously,
or
yes.
something.
Even though
Jeff doesn't usually.
His tribe mate David keeps referring to him as Rick, as do others. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Rick better than Devins.
Yeah.
Though I'll say it every once in a while, but
just to confuse everyone that's struggling. All right, thanks again, Dan. Next up, we got a call from Susan. Susan's back.
Hi, Joanne and Stacy. This is Susan from Hawaii. It's been a while since I've called in. I'm very spasmodic with my call-in. I just wanted to say a couple things about Keith and Joe. First of all, Keith is out of the game, I think. I think of him as like a young 19 as opposed to others that have been on. They were more mature and presented themselves as older, and there's no way he could have pulled off something like that. And his swimming skills were so bad that I had him picked as going off, and I don't know why I wavered on that, because I do think personality-wise he could do a really good job. I think they maybe put him on too soon. Maybe he needed a little time to just kind of ripen as a human being. Or actually, I really liked him. I just really liked him. I wanted him to be able to keep going, I think. Yeah. So I kind of think that's why I voted Wendy off this week, which was a dumb thing to do because I lost a point on that one. I hope they give him another shot at it as a returning survivor who just didn't get to go far, kind of a theme type of thing, and give him a shot at getting his swimming skills up. Or don't take him to a place where they have to swim so much. You know, like if he was in China or something, I don't think he would have been out this soon. I don't think he's going to the Edge of Extinction or whatever they're calling it. I think he's maybe smart enough to know that even if he can survive that, he's not going to be able to do individual competitions and make it all the way to the end. So why bother? So I'm guessing he doesn't go. And so my other thoughts about Joe, he's my USB, and I couldn't decide what to do and picked him as my USB. But I think he's doing a really good job. I'm very happy to see how he has shown up. He's obviously a resource. He's definitely strong in challenges and helping his tribe not have to go to the vote off. And I think he's playing it kind of humble. So if he did anything like took notes from Boston Rob or something like that, if he keeps his game humble and keeps himself likable and helps people as much as he can and gets to the point where he's sort of that meat shield, maintains that meat shield position, I think if they can get him deep, and if he, this is what his track record is though, he can get deep, but then he can't consistently win, you know, the single immunity idol, and then that's when he gets voted out. So I kind of think that might happen to him, but maybe not. Maybe this time he'll get lucky and not get voted out. Anyway, I took a chance with him, but I'm rooting for him. I'd love to see him win. Him and his man, but I have other thoughts about everybody else, but on another time. Talk to you next week, hopefully. Bye.
All right. Great to hear from you again, Susan.
You know what I want to do?
What's that?
I want to, as soon as we have time, I want to go back and watch just the challenge again. And focus on Keith and see if he did contribute anything. Because in my mind, I didn't see him do anything to contribute at all.
Right.
So I want to go back and look,
you
just
to
be
him that
fair.
Benefit?
Yeah, I want to be fair. Go back and watch it and see if he contributes even a little bit.
Okay. I think we can arrange that.
Okay.
That's an interesting point Susan made, that how would he have performed on another season where there weren't water elements? I still think that his lack of skill set would have caused him to be an early boot.
Yeah, me too, but that's why I want to go back and look just to make sure I haven't, set my mind a certain way and am not being fair.
Like Susan talked about, there's some definite charisma with Keith, and
yes.
I think we saw that, and we were drawn to him early on. I was too.
And his pretty smile.
Yeah, but his overall ineptitude, only that one moment that we got to see of granted lots of moments that we didn't get to see, with him making a smart call on turning on Reem to dropping her really quick and jumping ship. It was the kind of the only positive that we got from him.
Yeah, but I agree with her also that man, he needs some maturity.
He's not ready.
You look at Michael, right? And the difference in maturity from between
Ghost
those
Island.
two.
Yeah.
Even Will was more mature.
A little bit, yeah.
No,
not a whole lot.
No, he was more mature.
He was more competent all around in the game, for sure. But Will shot himself in the foot.
He did, but he was more mature.
Okay.
I just, Keith, I'm sure, is a really nice person. He just has to mature.
Okay.
And because he's not, I wouldn't consider him a 19-year-old in his actions. More like 16 to 17 most.
Right. Okay.
In my opinion.
All righty. In Joanne's opinion, there you have it, 16. I firmly believe that they cast a certain number of people every season with the understanding that they very likely will be early boots.
Early boots.
They are there to be characters.
To
and
be
one
early
attribute of Keith's character might have been his overall unreadiness for the game.
Yeah.
And they thought, well, there's something that we like about him, and we'll give him this shot. And so far, he's flubbed it. Who knows where he can take it from here?
Did he say he was a fan?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Thanks again, Susan. Next up, we got a call from Rashmi.
Hello, Joanne and Stacy and all my survivor friends. So I got another vote out this week. So that's
Yay,
2
congrats.
consecutive vote outs. Has never happened before. Well, I'm really happy, but it wasn't all that hard too, I suppose. So Keith is very young. He's strong. Then why was he asking God whether he should or he shouldn't make the decision? At that age, aren't you supposed to be just making, bold and taking bold and crazy options? Well, let's see. I think he will go to Edge of Extinction Island and quit along with Reem. And she's gonna quit too. She seems to be just at that stage. Then I wonder who will go there next. Now, till the tribal council happened, I thought Kelly was going home. And then Wendy made that great pitch about the returnees being sent, though she made it in front of David, and I didn't think that was really great. So I was a little bit blindsided because I really did think Kelly was going, but thankfully Keith went and I got a point. I think my USB Aubry is in a bit of trouble. I did like the dancing bit though. That was so funny, all of them dancing, and it would have been just great if they'd shown us a bit of the dancing before the challenge. Now about the idols. The girls were just idle talking and not doing much, were they? All that talk, go and hunt for it. And look, Lauren found it, but will she be able to keep it a secret? That's the point. So we'll see. Who's going next? I think it's going to be Wendy. Either she'll be voted out or she will quit because of the injury to her foot. I don't know why I've got this in my head that Wendy's gonna quit. We'll wait and see what happens. And can't wait to hear what everybody else has to say. Okay, bye. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks, Rashmi.
That's funny because I've convinced myself that it's all a red herring. Wendy's not going anywhere.
That's our conclusion right now, huh? Yeah. All right.
It's just a big tease. She's not going anywhere.
We'll see. Thanks, Rashmi. Good to hear from you. Next up, we got an email from Jesse in Canada. Hello, this is my first time emailing, but I'm a huge fan of your podcast and have been listening for quite some time.
Welcome.
Yeah, great to have you here. I listen to it at work, and hearing your thoughts and the other listeners' thoughts is great because I don't have many people to talk about Survivor with. We hear that a lot, so
yes,
we are here for you, Jesse. I'm not really sure what to say, so I'll say this about Edge of Extinction Episode 2. Keith bombed that entire challenge. There's your answer. You don't got to go back and watch. He was last in swimming. They were yelling at him to grab a handle on the snake through the sand, and he flopped hard with the ring toss. It wasn't a surprise to me that he got voted out, but after the way he carried himself through tribal, I didn't expect him to make the think you're going to win challenges comment. To me, that came off as a little snarky, but if it were me, I'd be salty too and probably would have blamed Wentworth. Yeah.
It's all Kelly's fault.
Everyone else does. You should too. My hopes for this season are that Reem, Keith, and Wendy are sent to the edge of extinction and come back as the most evil supervillain trio ever to walk the beaches of Fiji. Now there's a twist. I'd love to see the bottom three of Manu come back with a vengeance, but I understand that may be a stretch, especially with Wendy's ankle from the preview. Plus, there's not going to be three of them coming back.
Yeah, there's only two coming back. So
that ain't going to happen. But I like your imagination.
I like it.
Yeah, I like where you're going with that. Whenever there is an isolated island such as Exile Island or Edge of Extinction, my brother and I call it Cry Island or Cryland. Pronounced like island, Cryland. Because everyone who gets sent to them cries. Castaways sent there are like, should we look for an idol or something on this island? No, I'd rather just cry. Also, I hate Ron's dancing and hope that if he gets voted out, they all do a dance to send him off. But not in a we had a great time way, more like a neener neener go home Ron way.
Also not a Ron fan.
Yeah.
Like me.
Thank you for all you do, and can't wait to hear what the other listeners have to say. Thank you, Jesse. Great to have you here. Make sure to come back. Next up, we got a call from Alex.
Hi, Joanne and Stacy. My name is Alex. I'm from the Philadelphia area, and it's my first time calling in. I have listened to the podcast for the last season or two, and I'm playing JSFL for the first time this season.
All right.
I've been too nervous to call in, but I finally decided to do it. So far, I have all 11 points in JSFL. Not that it's been too hard to predict, but I'm proud to be doing well. I almost picked Keith as my USB, and now I'm grateful that I avoided that one. He seems smart and likable, and he is, but I really don't know how you go on Survivor with such bad swimming skills. Hopefully he will go to Extinction Island and Reem can keep teaching him how to swim. Instead, I picked Joe as my USB, so we'll see how that goes. I'm not sure who to pick as my vote out next week. I think that Aubry saying that people on her tribe are showing their true colors and that no one is talking to her or Joe might mean that Kama is going to tribal. In that case, given her edit this week, I think Aubry might be in trouble. I was thinking it could also be Julie, but she seems to have a good relationship with Victoria and Julia. However, depending on what is going on with Wendy's ankle, maybe none of this will end up being relevant. I guess we'll wait and see. Thanks for the podcast. I really enjoy getting to delve more deeply into Survivor and see what other fans are thinking. Have a good week.
Excellent.
All right.
You found the right
Alex.
place. Yeah.
I agree. I think Aubrey's in trouble, too.
Yes, very much so. Next up, we got a call from Kyle, previously known as J Waffles.
Hello, Joanne and Stacy and all the Survivor fans at home. This is Jay Waffles, and you know what? I'm going to actually drop that pseudonym going forward because Stacy gets a kick out of alliteration. We'll try this on for size. This is Kyle from Calgary, Canada, calling about some thoughts on this week's episode of Survivor.
Love it.
And I know it's been a little while since I've phoned in, but I've been listening to the recaps and the other thoughts on the superfans, so I really enjoy it as always. It's a big part of my week during Survivor, and I certainly would not have the same level of enjoyment. So again, thank you, Joanne and Stacey, and everyone else that phones in that makes the week great. On this season of Survivor, I'm not really up to speed on everybody's names. I mean, I know some of them, some of the big players that have been featured early, but I don't really, I mean, these are just sort of general thoughts that I have on some of these people. On, I guess, I'll just call it Wendy's tribe because I know her. Rick, I think he's the television producer, or the broadcaster. I like him. I think he's funny. As a sort of a middle-aged dad guy, I kind of get a vibe from him, a spirit animal vibe. Somebody who I think I could get behind, but War Dog. I don't love War Dog in a way that I think I could, because one, he calls himself War Dog, and two, he refers to himself in the third person. That's a big negatory on for me. I don't like it. On the other tribe, I know them even less. I mean, I know Joe and Aubry, but I don't know really any of the other players very well, so that makes me leads me to believe that these guys are going to be sort of longer in the game, just because we'll get to know them later. I will say that Ron, the teacher, he is definitely the most teacherist teacher that ever was a teacher. He's definitely geared or built to entertain and to really lay it on thick. So I guess that's probably fun when you're out there, when you're bored and you need somebody to sort of entertain you. But this is also isn't summer camp, and I think for me that would get extremely annoying after a while. So yes. I'm interested to see what everyone else has to say. Again, love the podcast. Thanks very much for everything that you do. And that's it for me. Have a great day. Bye.
All right. Thank you, Kyle from Calgary, Canada. I love that. Excellent. Yeah, great to have your voice back on the show. Next up, we got an email from Eric in Canada.
Boy, Canada's representing this week. Hello, Joanne and Stacy. This is my first time writing feedback for your show.
Welcome.
We really enjoyed week 2, and I really enjoyed week 2, and I think there's a pretty good cast this season. Whether it will shape up to be as good as David versus Goliath is still to be seen. Mm-hmm. I think next week War Dog may end up blindsided as he's playing too hard, too early, and is very stubborn.
Interesting.
I agree. He's very stubborn. I believe that unless something happens with Reem, she will drop out and go to Loser's Lodge. As for Keith, I think he decided to go to Loser's Lodge. His entire Give Me a Sign act was ridiculous, and I think that if he was a real fan, he would have picked up the torch right away. I agree with that too, Eric.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, great to have you on the show. Next up, got a call from Nicola-n-Jackson.
Good morning, Joanne and Stacy. This is Nicola and
Jackson.
And I know we're under the wire, Stacy. Sorry, we did actually watch a couple days ago, so I don't know how much Jackson's going to remember about the episode. But what do you remember?
Last time, we in February, you said.
What did you say? Oh, I think either on the first feedback show that you did or the first listener feedback show that you did,
you said,
Joanne said it was 2018, and Jackson remembered that, and he's been obsessing about that ever since. So
sorry, Jackson.
He just wanted to let you know that it was 2000 and good morning 19. So we are actually getting ready to go help some friends move, and we just wanted to send this in real quick. We enjoyed the episode, loved that challenge. It was great. I thought Aurora was just kicking booty on that challenge. She was the first one to kind of grab a hold of the head and use her whole body weight to try to pull it down into the water. And I think Joe stepped aside and let, I don't even know who threw the last toss there, but I think he stepped aside on purpose and let the other guy throw the final hoop so that he wouldn't be in the spotlight quite as much. As to Keith and his exit, it's just very disappointing to see. I mean, he's a young kid. Just get over it and get on with it, right? Would you go to Exile Island? No? Okay. All right, that's it for us. Take care. We'll talk to you all soon.
All right. Thanks, Nicola. Thanks, Jackson. There you go. Keith's got more in common with Jackson than he does with his fellow castaways.
Well, and sorry I said that wrong. I never even got it, so... And obviously you didn't either, so.
Nope, not that time. I did catch it a previous time, and we corrected it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what happened to this year.
Well, there's definitely some ring rust on us at the beginning of the season, right? Thankfully, you don't get to hear all the goofs and see us.
Well, most of them.
Yeah, most of the fits and starts that we have when we get back in the swing of podcasting. There's always a series of little things that we struggle through. Yeah. So good catch. Way to be listening, Jackson.
Well, and I really do think Joe is consciously trying to kind of take a backseat to Eric and let the attention be drawn to him.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the extra video where Eric went fishing,
Joe's not a dummy.
Just sat right back and let him go fishing. Bring us food. Mm-hmm.
Right. He needs a shield too. So
yes, he definitely does.
I'm sure he's happy to have someone to share that burden with.
And I've had this feeling too all along that Joe could win. Out of all the returnees, he would be.
I don't get that at all, but I understand what you're saying. Boy, you want to watch an extra video about Joe? Watch Chris's extra video from this week because he's obsessing with Joe.
Oh, yeah.
He is so focused on taking Joe down. That's like the only thing he can see is Joe. He wants to be better than Joe at everything, and he's looking to get rid of Joe.
Well, I think he wanted to be Joe, but now that he's playing with Joe, he wants to get Joe.
Yeah.
I want to be the one to get Joe.
Well, and he's having a realization, not to the depth or the extreme that Keith is, but he's realizing, wow, I'm not everything I thought I was going to bring to the game.
Well, and it's not Kama beating him, it's Joe.
Right. Definitely
Joe's beating him.
Having an impact on Chris, at least in that one confession.
I liked that.
Yeah, it was interesting.
It was insightful.
Yeah, it was very raw, too. So
yes.
You could see it was really eating at him. Good deal. Thanks, Nicola. Thanks, Jackson. I hope the move went great. Next up, we got a call from Drew and his crew.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy. Hey, everyone. This is Drew and...
Hi, I'm Ferdinand.
Okay, just a few quick friends. How about you? What's your name, babe?
Aubry.
And she didn't bring down any friends today, so there you go. We had a great time just now watching the challenge, and the kids were into it, and Charlie thought the snake was pretty light, huh?
Yeah, ginormous.
You thought the snake was ginormous?
Yeah, and I thought it was the float.
Yeah, you thought it was going to be a floaty snake, but it was a super heavy snake, huh?
Yeah.
They had to carry it when it got wet. It was super heavy. That would be really hard to do, huh?
Yeah, if it sinks, you have to go down.
Try to get it. That's right.
But what if you don't find it?
It's pretty big. You could probably find it. It's a great challenge. It was really fun. And when it started, Jeff was describing the progression of the challenge. I said, "Oh, they're gonna win because Joe is gonna nail the last stage with those rings." And that's pretty much true. So called that one. But yeah, it was a fun episode. Oh, the frustrating thing is I actually forgot picks. We both just totally spaced it. I listened to the feedback show. I was thinking about it all day, and it didn't even occur to me. But luckily, my picks rolled over pretty well, and it was looking like I was going to do okay because I had Wendy to go again still from the first week. And so that could have been worse. Sorry, not sorry that Keith is gone. I mean, we've had some really, really savvy young players on this show, and he just was not one. At the end, he's sitting there looking at the options. So torn. Why was he so torn? Why? Do you even think about it? I mean, is there a reason to consider not going to Extinction Island? I'm trying to figure out maybe if you're just over it, if you're just done, you're ticked off, and your game is over, or you burned too many bridges. I guess but this early in the game, is there even a reason to not go? I don't get it. I think that the editing about the Aubry part was kind of hilarious. Probably everyone does that when they're doing their pitch to people, but I don't know, maybe they don't do it quite so blatantly, so that was pretty amusing. This Gavin and Eric thing is kind of interesting. We'll see how that plays out. The idol hunting is keeping things interesting. The David versus Kelly thing, I didn't really expect that, so we'll see where that goes. Anyway, it was a fun episode. I liked it. Another thing I forgot last week was the winner of the week and loser of the week, so I'm going to hit that now. And say the winner of the week is Lauren for finding that super obviously placed idol. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, I agree. I kind of thought it was not the smartest thing to bury it in the sand so shallow. I mean, it looked like it was sand, and if a nice tide came in, then that thing would be toast. Loser of the week, Aubry, but in good faith. I mean, I think she has game, of course, but that was just pretty funny. I think next week probably Manu is going to continue to lose, and it will probably be, I don't know, will they continue the Wendy versus Kelly thing? Probably. We'll see. How's that for commitment? Okay, talk to you guys later. Have a good weekend. You guys want to say anything else?
Yeah, I'm gonna watch the
Oh, yeah, we're going to watch some cartoons. What about you, babe?
I'm going to work on my computer.
Okay, she has mommy's old computer. It's not really working. She's going to do some work on it anyway. Kind of rainy, kind of snowy today. Hope everyone's having a good Saturday, and talk to you next week. Bye.
All right. Bye. Enjoyed that. Good job, guys. Next up, we got an email from Josh, the Plush Moose from Massachusetts. Dear Joanna and Stacy, my surgery went well. Excellent. Yay. But I'm not up to my usual rewatches and feedback prep, so I'll keep it short this week. I wouldn't be surprised if Keith is still dithering at the signpost when the next player gets voted off. I wonder if there are any hidden idols or advantages on Extinction Island. That's a good question.
That'd be like a bumper car. If you get there, you bump that person on the other way.
Yeah, you automatically send them to Loser's Lodge.
Get out of here.
Yeah, if Keith does stay in the game, I can see him taking so long to decide that Reem will think nobody's joining her, causing her to quit, while Keith is en route to Extinction Island. If this happens, I don't think she'll react well when he finally does arrive and they swap places. Well, that would be funny. Whether it's by injury or by vote out, I think Wendy will be the next to go. It'll be interesting watching Manu implode after that if we don't see a tribe swap first. Well, that's it for me for now. Thanks, Joanna and Stacy, for all you do. I can't wait to hear what the other fans have to say. Thank you, Josh. Hope your recovery goes great. Looking forward to having you back in full form. Next up, we got a call from Brandon.
What's up, Joanna and Stacy and Survivor fans? Another great episode of Survivor. Same thing as usual. But I definitely think Keith needed to go. I was kind of hoping Kelly would go just because it was going to be a juicier blindside, but Keith's performance in the challenge was abysmal. And as somebody that is not great in the water and cannot swim, that is a reason for me to not apply to be on Survivor. I remember I almost drowned when I was like 7 years old. My uncle had to jump in and save me. I was at a state park creek type deal. We really shouldn't have even been in there. And I never thought it affected me because I always would still get in water after that. If I would, have a chance to go to a beach or somewhere where there was deep water, I would still go in, like to the point where obviously I could still walk around and kind of wade and everything. But I didn't know it affected me until I was supposed to get baptized. I got baptized around the time I was like 15 or so. And I remember just getting ready to go up under the water. I started panicking, and it came out of nowhere. I wasn't nervous about it. I didn't have any sort of, apprehensiveness or whatever, getting ready to get baptized. And then all of a sudden, as I was about to just get dunked under the water, I start kind of spazzing out. And eventually, I ended up doing it, and it was fine. And I still never been afraid to go in water. But I do have a slight fear of going underwater because of that, and I think that's also hindered me as far as being able to learn how to swim. Yeah, I think he just wasn't ready, so I don't think he was fit, I guess, for Survivor in that sense. So, but I am looking forward to the rest of this, see what the rest of this tribe does. It's kind of too bad, I think, that they're going to keep losing, but I kind of hope for a swap just so I can see some of the players that I like kind of last. I do like Devins. I kind of like what David's doing. I like what Lauren's doing. I also don't want to go to a swap without seeing how that tribe dynamic is on the other side. I want to see what all of them look like as a tribe at Tribal Council first before it's any switching going on. So, but we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to next week, and I'll talk to you guys next week, obviously. Peace.
All right. Thanks, Brandon. You may get your wish, buddy. We may see Kama there this week. Next up, we got a call from Parker.
Hey, it's Park from Indiana, and holy cow, Survivor. Man, they really got their cliffhangers this season. Great episode once again. First of all, the challenge, really like that challenge. Glad to see it make its return. I think it'd be really hard to do that challenge, but I like watching it. Keith is terrible at challenges. Not just the swimming part, but like when he was under the cage, when they were dragging Snake under, he was just rolling around. It was so weird. With ring toss, he just completely failed at that. I like the kid. He's a good kid. He seems like a fun person to hang out with, but like, geez, not too great at the physical stuff or the game, really. I mean, he had the foresight to like leave the conversation at the well, but not too great at gameplay. So we'll see if he decides to go to Edge of Extinction next week. I didn't get a vote off point. I got all my 4 save points right, and I played bold this week. I had Joe save, Aubry save, Chris save, and Wentworth save. Chris wasn't that bold. He was playing bold in the episode. But then War Dog was playing smart. I was impressed. Everybody thought that the big alliance would be War Dog and David. Turns out it's War Dog and Rick. Which I like that alliance. That sounds good to me. Wentworth still got her thing with Lauren. I was really scared that Wentworth would get voted off. I don't think that's the right move for David at all, because once Wentworth is gone, that makes David's target bigger. And we don't want that. For the newbies, it's dumb to vote off the returnees pre-swap, like War Dog was talking, because at a tribe swap, which there's going to be one, of course, there's always one nowadays in Survivor, the returnees are going to have a bigger target on their back than you. Lauren found the idol. That could come in handy with that duo of Lauren and Wentworth. We shall see. Yeah, I feel like this episode wasn't as jam-packed as the premiere, but it was entertaining. It was fun. Still better than Ghost Island, because the few of what we saw from Edge of Extinction just looking miserable, and that's it. So I'm good with this twist so far. Next time on Survivor, Wendy hurt her foot. That's the thing. See if Wendy decides to quit or gets pulled. It'll be interesting. Or if they just vote her off for being weak. It should be interesting. Also, who was the Wendy vote? Who was that? Who did that? What? Why? Who voted for Wendy? Was it Keith? Was it Wentworth? I don't know. All right, I think that's all I got. I will see you guys next time.
Good deal. Thanks, Parker. Next up, we got an email from Jack in California.
This was another solid episode, and I hope it continues to be that way. These contestants are fun to watch. Kama tribe seems to be having a great time, and I enjoyed watching the dancing shenanigans that was shown. However, I think Aubry made the wrong move by going to all of her tribe mates and seeing if they were all good with her. That may come back to hurt her later. I'm not sure why Lauren decided to hide her hidden idol in the sand near the tide where the idol could easily wash away with the tide.
I don't think it actually was near the beach. You said that and Drew said that, but I don't think it was for some reason.
I don't know that it was or wasn't, but yeah. Manu did better at the challenge than I thought they would. With that being said, I had Keith as my vote out this past week because I knew he struggles in the water, and I thought he would not help his tribe win because of it. Speaking of Keith, what type of an ending was that? I don't really understand that. If you're out there to play the game and you got voted off, especially if you waited a long time to play it, why would you be struggling to make the decision to continue or not? I would have grabbed the torch and continued to play if I had the opportunity to go out there. All right, thanks, Jack. Yeah, I would have to go just if for no other reason, curiosity to what's next. Wouldn't you have to go look?
I can't help but think that he might have been a bit overwhelmed with the realization of how incompetent, how unready to play all aspects of Survivor he was, and that gave him pause. It could just be he's in shock because he got voted off. Yeah. Could just be that simple.
Or that raw.
And like some other people said, that's manipulated. That edit is manipulated.
Oh, yeah,
It's not as drawn out as what they showed potentially. So, there's that aspect to it too. But if he's got any kind of self-awareness, it had to have been already creeping on him that I am not fit for this game in this scenario, and that might have been the lesson he was supposed to get from God, which is, you need to adjust yourself because you're not ready.
Part of me felt like he was hamming for the camera too.
Maybe
because it was just on him. That was
drama.
His moment.
Right,
so it's like
could have been some good camera awareness on his part for sure. Thanks, Jack. That was good. Next up, we got a call from Cameron.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy. Hey, Survivor fans. This is Cameron from North Carolina calling in with the Week 2 listeners' feedback. So in JSFL, I said Ron, Aurora, Julia, and Victoria would be safe. All were spot on. I kind of knew Kama would not lose again. Also, Ron was guaranteed to be safe. And then I said Kelly Wentworth to go, which wasn't right, but I guess it was a decent pick at least. I'm glad I saw that she had potential to go. So Reem on the Edge of Extinction, she was crying too much in my opinion. If I were there, I'd be stranded, I'd be upset, but she's got to look at the positives. She still has a chance to get back into the game, so I'd be glad in some fashion. Kelly was saying her and Wendy are in a battle of who's going to be the next to go. That is exactly what I was thinking for JSFL. It's got to be one of them, so I chose Kelly and ultimately was blinded that it could have been Keith. I liked Aubrey's Kumbaya comment. If everyone's at camp just super cheerful and lovey-dovey, the game can't be done. It's just summer camp and not Survivor. Aubrey thought the newbies weren't playing well just because they weren't playing with her. Honestly, they weren't being open books, as we saw, because they want her gone. And I thought Victoria did a good job at exposing her ingenuity, going around to everyone and saying, you remind me of this, I really trust you. I think I like the geek alliance between David and Rick that's forming. David was really weak at the beginning of Millennials versus Gen X, and now he's just this strong, wise returnee, so that's a cool turnaround. So that part of the episode was officially turning into idol mania. It was cool for Lauren to find that idol, and Joanna Stacy, you were right. She definitely said immunity in the diary session. A lot of people in the Javik said they saw her going to the Final Four, I think, and I'm starting to think that they're right. She seems to be playing a pretty solid strategic game. So credit where credit is due. That was a pretty good performance from Manu at the challenge. It wasn't a complete blowout like the first one, but I was not a fan of seeing them dance and cheer. You might be happy. You might be a solid tribe, but be respectful if you win. That's just always been a pet peeve of mine on Survivor. I can think back to Survivor Vanuatu when Lopevi lost and Rory was just a gentleman. He was like, good job, guys. And now we see just people dancing and rubbing it in. I don't like that too much. Manu really could use a swap. Wentworth was pretty smart when she said that everyone knows her game already. They don't know each other's game, but they know mine. That was a pretty good statement. So she knows she has to adjust her game and not play the same way she did in Cambodia. Man, I'm sad to see Keith go, but I kind of expected it to happen towards the end of the episode. It was really between him or Eric for my USB pick, so I'm glad I chose Eric ultimately. So next time on Survivor, no swap. If I had to guess who's going, I'd say Wendy or Aubry. Wendy, if she gets medevac, then you really can't put her for being voted off, or else you won't get a point, I guess. So will Keith go to the Isle of Extinction? I think he'd be dumb not to, but as you guys said, he's not cut out for it, so no judgment if he doesn't. All right, everyone, I hope you have a great week. Hope to hear some great feedback, and I will see you all next week.
Excellent. Thanks, Cameron. Good job. Next up, we got a call from KimJ.
Hey Joe and Stacey, this is KimJ from Nashville. I enjoyed the editors playing with Aubry this week a lot too. She kind of reminded me of Sari in Game Changers. She really looked like she was struggling a lot early on, and if they had gone to tribal council early, she probably would have gone home. So I'm wondering if that's going to happen with Aubry, that either they're going to go to tribal council next week and she's going home, or she's going to make a comeback and make it pretty deep in the game. So it's going to be definitely interesting to see. Of the returnees, David certainly looks to be the one in the best position. So they really haven't mentioned him. They talked about Wentworth being a shield, but they really haven't said anything about David. So I am interested if he's really integrated himself in that tribe as much as it seems like that he has. I'm really liking Rick a lot, and even though War Dog is clearly the one running that tribe, I really like him a lot too. I can't see him going very far. Very seldom do people who are that insistent on being the puppet master at this point in the game make it far. But he certainly handled Chris very, very well. So props to him for that. I do not think that Keith really pondered at the sign that long. I think that he probably they're just probably playing tricks with us with the editing. And I think, of course, next week we'll start with him showing up at Extinction Island. So what do you guys think the over-under is of people quitting? 3 or more? I am interested to see a little bit more of the Kama tribe because we've seen so much of Manu so far. My USB Julia has yet to have a confessional. So at this point, I just need her to make the merge, and looks like I'm going to be picking a new USB come merge time. And Victoria was surprising. She was kind of interesting. Still don't know what to think about Ron yet. I still don't know what to think about a lot of that tribe yet. So I'm not saying I hope they go to tribal council next week so we get a little bit more, but I am just hoping to learn a little bit more about them next week and whether or not Ron's advantage is going to come into play, because I had that whole article that you mentioned last week, Stacey, about the marooning. And in that article, I think it was that article that they talked about, there was another secret advantage that was found that they didn't show because it was not, it wasn't a factor. So they showed us Ron. So does that mean it's a factor next week because they finally go to tribal, or maybe it becomes a factor later in the game and he kind of pulls a Chrissy and uses it later in the game? I don't know. I'm kind of interested to see how that all goes down. So look forward to seeing what everybody else says.
Excellent. Thanks,
Oh,
KimJ.
that's true. He could still a vote. I can't imagine he would actually need it, but
right, if they go. Or he could use it to ensure whatever he needs from the, he could buy some good grace maybe by protecting someone to make sure that whatever plan he's a part of gets pulled off.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's hanging over us heavy, right? As we go in, it expires after this next game cycle. So, good points. Great to hear from you. Good job, KimJ. Next up, we got an email from James in Charleston. Hey, guys, another week and another good episode of Survivor. It wasn't great, but I did enjoy it. We're 2 episodes in, and I hardly know half the players. It probably has to do with not doing much research before the season. If that's the case, then I wonder how many casual Survivor fans are missing out also. You're definitely not alone there. This episode also features a lot of David, and I'm not into him. He's trying to convince people to get Kelly out, and I'm a fan of hers, so he's officially on my list. It drives me crazy that he's part of the group that wants her out because she's a returning player, and I'm wondering why people aren't looking around and wondering where the other returning player is. Oh, that's right. He's standing right next to you. Of course, he doesn't have Kelly's talents, but when you're losing challenges, maybe you should consider keeping the physical returning player and getting rid of the returning player whispering poison in your ear. I swear, at one point in the challenge, David was pulling the snake back the other way. Maybe intentionally or maybe through incompetence. Chris and Moordog need to watch out because once Wentworth is gone, they're next in line. I did love awkward Aubry playing along and dancing with the tribe, even though she really didn't want to. Showed a lot of game awareness, which she could have used when she was using the same tactics to persuade each tribe member to work with her. That was as awkward to watch as the dancing. She has to know people are going to talk. I've got a bone to pick with production. The shows aren't put together well, in my opinion. Did anyone else see the idol in the log while Lauren was still 20 feet away? There was a flash of blue from a distance,
you could see
wasn't
blue,
there?
yeah.
Then she walks up and pretends to be surprised. It felt staged, like she found it and they didn't get a good take on it, so had her do it again. And they've definitely done some of those kinds of things before. I know this probably happens a lot, but usually they do a good job of making it feel like a homogenous part of the show. It wasn't as awkward as Tony's stupid spy shack hiding under some leaves with a camera 10 feet away, pointing at a pile of debris, but it was still pretty bad. And the whole decision drama at the end. Come on, man. That was fake as Prope's hair color. Oh, that struck me as funny because I hadn't really thought about it, but that's probably an excellent point. I wonder how many takes that took. This season has brought something no other season has, and that's a change of focus when someone has been voted out. Instead of the back angle walk away and then Probst giving some words of wisdom and the tribe shot, we now follow along with the condemned. It's weird, to be honest. It doesn't feel like the episode is ending. I agree 100% with that. I also didn't know there was so much chatter on the way out. I know 2 times as a sample set. When I initially thought multiple people were going to be on the edge of extinction at one time, I didn't think it was going to be a big challenge because 2 people surviving is easier than 1. Then I realized that Keith could be one of the 2 people, and how that could be worse than being alone. I don't think he was a big provider. He's just a consumer. That's probably a great one sentence summary of him at this point in his life. He is a consumer. Thanks again for all you do. I'm proud of the fact that I've gotten all my picks in on time, unlike last season where we started in a big hole.
That's true.
Of course, after 2 weeks, we aren't much better off. All right. Thanks, James. Great to hear from you. Next up, we got a call from David.
Hey, Joanna and Stacy. It's David in Pittsburgh. And I have to admit, as much as I'm enjoying this new season, I'm really having trouble identifying different players. And it seems to me that at this time last season, just with the second episode, I knew a lot more of the characters. I'm particularly having trouble with the Kama tribe. Julie, Julia, Victoria, even Aurora, who said something in the beginning, they just seem to be not standing out to me yet. And I think part of the problem for me was that first episode was an hour, not an hour and a half, and then we are taking up time on the Exile Island. Now, Gavin stands out, but even Eric, who's a fireman, right? He just, I can't even picture him right now. The other team's a little easier because they're dropping like flies, but so I have to admit I'm a little bit confused. Now, with the returning players, it's interesting because right away I identify with them. I remember their previous seasons, but I also noticed that, for example, Joe seems to be disappearing. He talked about wanting to play a socially strategic game and make more friendships, and maybe he's doing that, but he really is staying under the radar. And Audrey, who I consider a good strategic player, really is fumbling the ball. And I don't get it. She seems to be much more savvy than that. It doesn't mean she's going to be going the way they're leading us to think she's going to be ousted whenever they lose the challenge, but she certainly doesn't seem to be coming across as genuine, at least to the other players. I am finding Exile Island to be intriguing. I really liked it for the first time we saw Reem get on there. And I do have some questions. I'm just wondering, I know there's a camera person with her when she gets off the boat, but does that person leave her? And if so, does that mean overnight what if she has an accident or an injury and can't drag herself out to the white flag? Are they going to know that there's a problem? But anyway, when Keith had to make his decision, I thought exactly what you did, Stacy. It's like if he is taking that long to try to come to a decision about whether to stay in the game or not, then he should drop out of the game. He's a young player, and I just don't think he was motivated enough. That's my 2 cents for this week. I'll talk to you next. Thanks. Bye.
All right. Thanks, David. Good to hear from you.
That's why I love the Jabbok show. Usually before the season starts, after doing Jabbok part 1, then I can usually look at a photo and name the people.
We get about 70-80%, I think, at that stage, yeah.
Yeah, I can usually do it. There might still be a couple that I'm, confused or something, but usually by the first, after the first episode,
I think the other
gets dialed in.
The other thing that helps us is that while we're recording a podcast, we've got Paul's visual roster up.
Always.
And so we're getting that regular reinforcement, right, which is key for this kind of thing, and that really helps us. I think that's probably doing the Jabbok, saying who are they for the introduction, and then the constant reinforcement of the visual roster is really what locks us in. Because I can remember before we started the podcast struggling to keep up with who was who. And
I know I'm that way on other shows. Amazing Race, I'm like, I don't know, the one, and I thought, I would do that on Survivor too if we didn't do Jabbok.
Yeah, I can remember doing it in Vanuatu right before we started with the podcast in Palau. And, getting turned around with who was who.
Yeah, and it was a lot harder that way for me.
To enjoy it, yeah. We didn't get the same level of enjoyment, that's for sure. So we get where you're coming from there, David. Next up, we got a call from Chris.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy. Hey, Survivor fans. At this point in the game, I still haven't seen the previews. But that was a great episode, and I think I got another vote-off point. It's going to get tougher going forward, though. I'm a member of a lot of boards right now, and everybody is just upset, and I'm glad that we can come together and love on Survivor. I just had a couple of comments. The snake challenge, would it not be smarter to start with the tail? Because that way you could, get the easiest part out of the crate first, and then pull the rest. And that way you could have the weaker players at the tail end, and everybody's pulling on the whole thing, rather than somebody strong at the front struggling with the head and nobody else can move anyway. I guess my other comment was at the end when Keith was talking to God and it showed the producers' names, right, when he said, "Come on, Jesus," and it said Jeff Probst. Have a great week, everybody.
Chris has always got some kind of little twist in his feedback like that. Good deal. Thank you, Chris. I like your idea about how to get the snake out of there. Maybe a little easier to start with the lighter end first. There's probably something to that. Next up, we got an email from Shannon in Charleston.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy. I promise this season I will write my emails. Sophomore year is pretty hard.
Yeah, it is.
This season, I'm cheering for Kelly. I thought she was a great player in her 2 seasons. I'm not excited that Aubry is back. I really disliked her in both of her seasons. So far this season is going pretty well. I liked Reem at first, but her attitude made me dislike her. I don't think Keith will go to Extinction Island, and if he does, he will either leave or drive Reem out. That's all I have to say. I'm typing this up quick. I'm in the movie theater about to see the new Medea with my grandparents. All right, enjoy the movie, Shannon.
Yeah.
And thanks for getting your feedback in.
Yeah, good stuff. Making the most of your time. Good job.
That's right.
Next up, we got a call from Jody.
Hey, Survivor family, it's Jody in Brisbane. First feedback of the season for me. I just finished up on episode 2, and dang, Dang!
She does it pretty well.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe they left it like that, a cliffhanger. Does Keith take the torch or does he not? And like for such a vocal reaction, dang, to stand there and quiz and carry on over it, like what do you want to do? You want to pick up the torch is what you want to do, Keith. They definitely made the right decision in getting him out at this point, not least because I had both Kelly and Wendy safe. That was a real nail biter to me. Like I am down to the quick. Yeah, so that was really good. I'm still having trouble discerning who some of the blokes are. The newscaster guy, Devon. Is it Devon? Have we got
Devons?
Somebody else named after lunch meat? Anyway, that guy with shirt on and shirt off. Two different guys. It's like Superman, only very white and doughy. I had vomit in my mouth moment towards the beginning of the episode where they're all hanging around showing each other their corpse hands, like the, so soaked and disgusting. I can't stand that. That is like my kryptonite. My kids will touch me when we go swimming with their corpse hands, and that's it. You touch me, we're going home. I'm done. I can't deal with it. The best news ever is that I remembered to put my pics in this week. I was Facebook declaring last week, ream to go, and then didn't put them in. So wave goodbye to 6 points. So in my mind, I'm at 11, but here I am at 5. I'm in it, loving it, and I just can't wait. Poor Reem, abandoned on the island, wondering if somebody's going to turn up. And I actually really like this Edge of Extinction palaver. Just my heart's going to be fluttering until next week. Do we have anybody on the Edge of Extinction? Do we lose 2 people because Keith pusses out, doesn't turn up, and then Reem dies? I don't know what's going to happen. Anyway, it's really exciting. She's not going to die. Hello, she's got a film crew. But I could say heaps more, but I'm at 3 minutes already. And all right, loved it. Bye.
Thanks, Jody. Great to have you back on the show. Next up, we got a call from Jeremiah.
Hello, Joanne and Stacy. Hello, Survivor fans. This is Jeremiah Panhorst here with some quick feedback for this week's episode. First, I want to start off by going, hooray! Awesome job, Stacy, with paying your debt last week. Brilliant, my friend. Very, very good. I will admit I can't take credit for completely finding that song. I actually put the task to my wife to help me come up with a song that has to do with underdogs, and she's the one that found that. Normally, I would have never found that because I can't stand country music, so I knew nothing about the song. But you did a great job of pulling it off, my friend. As far as this week's concerned, I feel like we've had like back-to-back predictable kind of outcomes. I mean, we haven't seen this in a while. I mean, you had first Reem, of course, because she was annoying people by taking clothes, and then you have Keith, who's terrible at challenges, especially the swimming portion. So I don't know. I just feel like this is kind of an interesting first 2 episodes, but it's been good. Don't get me wrong. I've enjoyed the episode. This cast is actually quite surprising me because I really do feel like maybe for the first time in a long time, this new group will be able to keep one of these returnees from making it to the finale or to the finals. I'm starting to wonder if that's going to be, a possibility. Obviously, Aubry had a terrible episode. Ugh. That edit, oh my gosh, with showing her, basically just not playing the game smart. And in fairness to her, she's doing fine. It's just that these players are extremely smart. So obviously, I don't think she's going to win the game now after seeing that edit. Yeesh. Well, David's obviously in the best position. I know I started with my Jabbix saying that I thought Aubry or David has that best chance. Now I'm kind of wishing I would have picked David for my ESP instead of Aubry because I think she might be the next to go. So that's my prediction for what's going to happen next week. I have no idea if, of course, Reem or anybody is going to quit out of Extinction Island, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I do have to discuss real fast about this Keith thing because, at the beginning of the season, I was thinking, why do you even have that option? Who in their right mind is not going to take a second shot at getting back in the game? And then, of course, we are left with this episode with Keith really struggling about whether or not to do that choice. And, of course, I'm thinking to myself, geez, this guy, come on. I mean, I understand he's young, and I know you're going through all kinds of emotions once you get voted out. But if you're a true fan, someone who's always wanted to play this game, it shouldn't be even a the second thought in your head. Oh, it's so frustrating. This guy's he's already dead to me, especially if he doesn't take that second chance to try to get back in the game. Anyone who doesn't do this is going to be completely dead to me, because if you love this game, you go for it.
Right.
Oh, all right, well, that's it for me. I better go ahead and close things up. You guys take care. I can't wait to hear what everybody else has to say. And until next time, this is Jeremiah from Southern California.
That's funny, because that's the frustration we felt.
Yes, absolutely. You're like, Slinks, I got another chance. I got it. Let's go to the boat with a torch. Thanks, Jeremiah. Good job, buddy. Great to hear your voice. Next up, we got an email from LeAnn in California. Hello, everyone. Well, the editors really had a fun time with us this episode. I had Keith going out, but by tribal council, I was totally convinced it was going to be Kelly. Me too. Right there with you. A Kelly vote would have been impressive, but I knew that keeping the tribe strong had to be the way to go at this point in the game. Poor Keith. He had dug himself a huge hole in the immunity challenge, and I felt bad for him. Until his hesitation at the Edge of Extinction sign. I agree with you, Stacy, that Keith is not worthy of playing the game of Survivor after that move. Ugh. And then our DVR cut off. Right at that point, our entire living room was filled with, what? Thank goodness I could listen to the recap to find out what happened next. Kudos to the editors for keeping that ending hanging. I have a feeling that Keith ends up with Reem. But the vision of Reem, seeing the day of Tribal Council come and go, is very appealing to me. As for next time on Survivor, I think Wendy will stay in the game with her injured foot. I keep going back to last season finale, where the teaser for Edge of Extinction only showed Wendy and Rick, and that kind of highlight usually indicates someone who goes far. As I remember for last season, they had highlighted Nick and Gabby, and I can see Wendy getting her chance when teams get shuffled, possibly next week, and then she can make alliances with the Kama tribe. We shall see. I think Manu will lose again, so maybe Kelly will go then. Happy Survivor watching, everyone. Thanks, LeAnn. Great to have your voice here on the show this week. Next up, we got a call from Jen.
Hi, everyone. This is Jen in California. So I wanted to begin my feedback for this episode by talking about Edge of Extinction Island. So Reem's been there for 3 days, and we have Keith looking at the signs, deliberating. Should I go? Should I not go? I think it's kind of a red herring. I think he's going to go to Edge of Extinction Island. They just want to have just a little bit of dramatic pausing there. It'll be interesting to see what happens with two people there. I mean, there's really nothing to do, it looks like, at Edge of Extinction. I'm really wondering what the deal is going to be. But let's say Keith doesn't go. I mean, there is an off chance that he won't. I think that if Keith decides not to go and Reem has to stay there alone for 3 more days, I think that might just push her to raise that white flag. I can sort of understand Keith's predicament. Even though you're frustrated with getting voted off, you're walking down that little alleyway, and you're kind of secretly, though, relieved that, hey, I'm going to get to eat a hamburger, I'm going to get a shower. It's kind of a sense of relief, and then you're presented with this sign. I think it really could just play with your head a little bit. So being 19 years old, missing home, mama's boy, I think that I can understand why Keith is a little bit confused here and discerning what he wants to do. But anyway, back to the actual players in the game, the people that are still in it to win it. Of all the returning players, I think that David is best poised to stay in the game for the long haul. For some reason, he is presenting himself as someone who isn't a threat, and the other players seem to be reading him as somebody who's not quite the threat that Kelly or Aubry or Joe are. And the little Aubry roast, I kind of felt bad for her in that moment when the editors put together all of the clips of her saying the same thing to everybody, and I bet you that's something that every player does anyway, whether they're new or old, is they have their line that they're telling people. And you just have to say it over and over and over again until something sticks. But they're showing us now because I think it's going to be significant. It's significant in the sense that the new players are very in tune to perhaps the manipulation that the veterans might be doing on them. And they're wise to it, and good for them. I like how Wendy is she's fighting to stay. I was happy to see her really pulling out all the stops and fighting to stay, and good on her. She got herself another 3 days. I'm proud of Lauren for sticking to her guns and finding that immunity idol, and even more proud of her for not telling Kelly about it. I don't have much to say about Kama because they're winning. We're not seeing too much of them. Anyway, that's it for me. I'm still real curious about what Extinction Island is going to turn out to be. Hopefully we get to see more of that in the coming weeks. Till next week, bye.
Excellent. Thanks, Jen.
Do you think Lauren can continue to hold out and not tell Kelly because she's so excited about it?
No, I'm with everyone else who thinks she's going to crack and share. And she may do it for a strategic reason, too. Yeah. But I'd be surprised if she's really able to keep a secret to herself that long. That would be I'd have to admit that I'd underestimated her if she's able to pull that off. Next up, we got a call from Paul.
Hey, Paul in Louisiana here, and to everyone playing JSFL, don't forget to hit that submit button. I had a 5-point episode until the next morning when I discovered that my picks had rolled, and that's the end of me making my picks at 1 a.m. Anyway, yes, I love the episode, but I've lost all respect for Keith. He sells himself as a Survivor fan with the dream of playing and ends like that. Me, well, I think he'll steer clearly to the right and just leave. I don't understand how much of a sign you need when you've been chosen to be on the show, and then when you're voted off, you find that there's a chance you can miraculously return to the game. The sign is right in front of him, literally. He's young, though, bless his heart. And you know, that snake challenge, it's so fun to watch, but I'm unsure about what was less buoyant, the snake or Keith. I'm also shocked that it took people so long to think that Keith might be the better person to vote out. And is it me, or is the term blindside being thrown around pretty loosely these days? Every week we're hearing how someone was blindsided, even though the term doesn't really apply. Keith wasn't blindsided. He knew his name was out there right after he performed in the first challenge, and certainly after this latest one. A blindside involves a person having no clue that they're going to leave the game, and that they feel completely safe. And Keith, well, there's just no way he felt safe, especially after that conversation at Tribal. Had War Dog or David been voted out? Yes, that would have been a blindside. But no, even though CBS loves the term because it makes the episode sound more shocking, no, not a blindside. The term is becoming diluted through overuse. So, moving on, I guess we're all wondering if Wendy will leave the game. It looks as though she's fighting to stay in, but that ankle will be a huge liability in challenges. The big question is, will they vote her off, or will she leave early on a medevac? Or wait, the really big question is, will her tribe even go to tribal council now that they aren't lugging Keith around? It's very possible, and that's why I'm picking Aubry to go, and then clicking the submit button. On the other hand, let's play what if here. What if Keith chooses to leave? And that's not a big what if. Well, that would maroon Reem on Extinction Island for another 3 days in isolation. And then, what if Wendy gets voted off and chooses to head out of the game, like Keith will? Well, that leaves Reem alone out there for 9 days before possibly seeing someone. And you know that all she'll be thinking is, did I make the right decision? I honestly hope that doesn't happen to her. But, as I said, I think Aubry's goose is cooked, and she'll definitely head out to Extinction Island where she can discover how much Reem reminds her of herself and have a dialogue with her for a few days. So, that's it for me. Oh, but I don't like cliffhangers on Survivor. Okay, really, this is it for me. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, definitely have some dialogue with Reem. That was great. I love that.
I do disagree in that I do think Keith was blindsided. He looked like he was to me.
You think they had done such a good job
on selling that it wasn't him?
Giving him that he just latched onto that hope.
Yeah.
And was willing to believe it that they had.
Because I'm pretty sure he ended up voting Wendy. And then Wendy did the Kelly vote. That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Right.
I don't know that for a fact, but it's the only thing that made sense to me. And I think they convinced him that he wasn't going, and he really believed it.
Or he convinced himself.
He convinced himself, yeah.
They offered him a lifeline, and then he swallowed it so deep. Yeah. That's possible. That's possible. It is, like Paul said, I'm guilty of diluting it too, I think, in some cases. But it just depends on how you want to frame the definition. And
it's not that hard when you're that young, and still trusting.
And he already, I'm sure, felt like he got saved that first time when Reem went. Yeah. Yeah, and I think the thing that is saving David is that it was his thundering incompetence in his first season in Millennials versus Gen X. He was so horrible, especially early game. He did progress and he got better, and he adapted to some degree after that. And he ended up pulling off a really cool move at a certain point. But that's really, I think that impression of him as being so incompetent has really worked to his advantage this time. So you got Wentworth, such a staggering threat, almost at a Joe-like level for different reasons from Joe, but at that level. And then you got David Wright, and they remember how he struggled and how he's afraid of everything, and it's helping him this time around.
And additionally, I believe that because he's only played twice, the ones that have
twice,
the ones that are on their third go round, I don't think he'll come to the forefront till they're out.
It's almost like he's got more in common with them, having played less. Yeah, I think there's something to that, too.
And because he was so incompetent for most of that.
Yes, staggeringly so.
But they'll remember how good he done. How well he did toward the end of the game. That'll come up once the other threat, once Kelly's gone. Then it will be more important.
It raises his visibility for sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. But at this stage in the game, in phase 1, it's all about not me, not me, not me. However that happens, you got to go with it. Whatever gives you the best not me. I'm with Paul. I think Kama's going to go to tribal, and I think the Ron advantage will come into play somehow. Don't know how exactly, but I think Aubry's on her way to having that dialogue, like Paul said. Yeah.
I've already made my pick.
I did too. After we watched the extra videos and we're trying to work through it all, I ended up there too. I may change my mind. I'm still thinking about all the stuff that everybody said here on the listener feedback show. So I've got to add that to the mix now and sort of reevaluate it, rebalance the spreadsheet there. But I'm still leaning towards an Aubry boot.
Yeah, me too.
At least right now. We'll see what happens between now and then. What a great show. Good job, everyone. A lot of folks. What was it, 29, and some great feedback, different perspectives. I loved, people sharing some of their personal experiences. The whole thing with Brandon talking about what having that panic, that apprehension when he was getting baptized, and it reminded me of what it felt like when I got caught in a riptide. It took me back to that. So Brandon helped me here in the listener feedback show relate a little bit to Keith. That kind of anxiety can be overwhelming. You really got to get a grip on it, and it can have an impact on you for sure.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, good deal. Enjoyed all of it. Thanks, everyone, for sharing your perspective and for taking the time to put your thoughts together and send in your predictions. We're split, I think, probably 50-50. Keith's going to go. He's going to quit, or he's going to go to the island. We'll see, yeah.
Well, I think he will go to the island. Then I think he'll quit later.
I'm saying in terms of the feedback this week, it's split about even. Yeah, so good job, everybody. Great, I know.
Going on record. All of a sudden
it was about, yes. Okay. And we also want to say a special thanks to Kim and Christy and Hazel. Thank you so much for your donations. We greatly appreciate that support, too.
And if you play in JSFL, don't forget to get your picks in before the deadline on Wednesdays by 7:30 Eastern and 4:30 Pacific time.
Yeah, you don't want to count on your picks rolling.
It's not before the show starts.
Right.
There is a deadline a half an hour before the show starts.
Yes. Yep. We've had some people pushing it down to the wire, running into trouble and whatnot. So.
Well, yeah, and that happens a lot of times when you wait real late. I don't like to do that myself because you never know what's going to happen in the world.
That's true. That's true.
And the internet.
Definitely with the internet. Good deal. All right, so we're stoked. Looking forward to that third episode. We will be back with a recap on Wednesday. Anything else you need to add?
Nope, I think we covered it.
Have a good one.